Hi, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new, my name is Kelly. My spiritual name is Earthsong Lovecraft. I've mentioned a few times that I'm writing a book. I'm actually writing a few books. One of them is called The Narcissist Journey. And I just want to talk a little bit about that with all of you, because there's two sides to that coin. And lots of people want to paint the narcissist as the enemy, the bad guy, or bad woman. It's not gender specific. Though factually more often than not it is the man. It can also be the woman that is the narcissist. In my life personally, it was very hard for me to come to terms with the fact that the very first narcissist in my lifetime of repeat narcissism was actually my mother. So it can be a woman, though men are more prone to becoming the narcissist. But here's what I have really deduced by what creates a narcissist to begin with, my mother included, and why it's mostly men, mainly men. Men from the time of birth, as little boys, are taught to be tough, suck it up, man up, not show their feelings, or they're called a sissy or a baby or a girl. They're not taught how to deal with their emotions. They're taught to stuff them. That's a true story. It's a very sad but true story. I personally was even guilty of that with my first son 30 years ago. Then my second son was autistic, as is my third. I have 3 boys. Autistic children don't know how to cope with their emotions. That's something you have to really work at with them. Be patient with. Encourage them to embrace and express in healthy ways. This actually helped me to learn and understand more from the perspective of the narcissist themselves, how and why things in their life could transpire to create a narcissist, even if there was no physical abuse or severe neglect or personal relationships that were detrimental to their heart, like repeated relationships of cheaters and abusers and that kind of thing. There's usually none of that with a narcissist. Okay. And so me being a fixer, me being a counselor, me being someone that my entire life other people have come to for their problems, to help work their problems out, because I have this really good ability to see it from a third-party perspective, right? Be impartial, and help them to see where things can be corrected. But the narcissist journey, that's one that I found myself in repeatedly throughout my lifetime, whether it was family members or friends or romantic relationships. There were many narcissists in my life, and I couldn't understand why. Why were all of these people so jaded and damaged to the point that they would be so hurtful to people that they claim they love? I just couldn't get it. And I didn't really fully get it until I realized that my mother was the first narcissist in my life. You see, my mother was raised by two great parents that stayed together for their entire life. They married at 15 and 16 years old, had 16 children together, and were still married when they passed away in their 80s. Happily married. All of their children love them very much, as they should. And they loved their children. But they didn't really know how to express love or gratitude or teach their children how to love other people. Now, on that level, I actually understood that about my mother, that she didn't know how to show love. She didn't know how to express love. So therefore, she didn't know how to teach me how to be loving. I became aware of that with my first child. I was 18, and I was really terrified that I wasn't going to be able to show this child how much I love her, because I didn't know the steps and how to do that. It was a very scary prospect for me. And so, you know, I understood that it wasn't my mother's fault that she didn't know how to show love and teach me love. On some level, it's not her fault, right? But on another level, I am of the very strong opinion that once we become an adult, we can no longer blame our parents for who we are as an adult. And so, at some point in her life, she should have taken that responsibility seriously to make sure that her children know that they're loved and that they're safe with her. And I'm not the only one of her 7 children that feel this way about her. Actually, we have a quite dysfunctional family due to that and some other factors. It certainly didn't help that our father was an alcoholic, or that he was gone the majority of the time with his secretive work. So it was a real struggle for us as children to navigate this world, and even as young adults, and for some of them even now as older adults. It's a struggle. Life is a struggle. Life is complicated and confusing and hurtful and unfair to them. And so I've looked at all of this from being the youngest of 7 through a different lens of seeing all of my siblings struggling in similar ways but different, and even seeing my mom struggle, you know, and my dad, because of the way they were raised and how their inner child was still needing to be healed, and they just didn't really understand that or how to accomplish it. So we can't blame the narcissists to some extent. Okay, we can't make them the villain in this game we call life. If anything, they should get the most pity from us, because they truly are lost in their soul on how to change and be different. They lash out at people they love and they hurt them with their words or their actions or whatever. Repeatedly, they are repeat offenders. And they don't know how to stop the madness. And the people that love them don't know how to stop the madness either. So it's a constant chaotic circle of madness all around us, right? And I like a good mystery. And I'm a good problem solver and crime solver, mystery solver, you know? I like those kind of things. I'm really good at them. I do the work. I delve deep in there. And so for the narcissist, I've really dove the deepest into that rabbit hole than any other, because I truly wanted to come out with some kind of answers. And sorry, let me just turn off my phone because it keeps blowing up and it's distracting my frame of thought here. Let me just mute all this. Okay. Sorry about that. But the narcissist also has things to heal and things to learn from, lessons to learn in this lifetime, just like anybody else. They're just really hard-headed and blind, actually just blind to how deeply they hurt people. Most of the time, they're blind. Once in a while, you can catch a glimpse of that, oh shit, look what I just did, in their eye, you know? Is it enough to change them? Make them want to change? Not usually. No, not usually. It's a very karmic thing to know narcissists. And it's toxic, because if you're around them enough, you too can become narcissistic in many ways. You start becoming consumed with your ego, your poor me's, your why me attitude, if you let it. You have to fight really hard to rise above stooping to that level. And it is a real struggle. Almost every time. Every different narcissist that you meet will challenge you in new ways. But there are reasons that you're being challenged by these narcissists in your life. There's a reason they're in your life. Partially because you chose it. You chose it. You ignored the red flags. You ignored your intuition. Or you're so overgiving and overforgiving of people that you just continue to give people the benefit of the doubt and another chance, and then another, and then another. And then you're like, why do I always get the crap into this stick if I'm being such a good person and I keep forgiving them and I keep giving them the benefit of the doubt and having that hope that they're going to change, and then they don't change? So there's lessons to be learned on both sides. For the people who allow repeat offenders into their life, your biggest lesson is to learn how to love yourself and not have that expectation of getting acceptance or praise from other people. Being okay with not having that in a way that isn't detrimental to your healthy ego. Don't let it depress you. Don't let it make you feel like you just shouldn't get praise from people because you're not worthy. Because it isn't about that. It's about knowing your worth so much that you don't need other people to say that you're enough. You don't need that. And when you get to that point where you don't need it, shockingly, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist when that happens, they suddenly begin to change. Ironic. Is it enough? Is it worth giving them another chance over? Maybe. Maybe not. That choice is yours to be made. There's nothing wrong with having goodness in your heart and giving people a second chance or a 50th chance. Right? There's nothing wrong with that, provided that you're willing to accept whatever fallout may come of it. Don't just walk in with your bag of hopium. My dad used to teach me to hope for the best, but expect the worst. And I never could get that. But I get it now. I totally get it now. It's a balance. It's about not having those expectations on the outcome. Walk in faith. Do your best. Know that you've done your best and that that is enough. And don't let anybody tell you any different, because you know it. And when you've done your best and others still can't meet you in the middle with full acceptance and honest love that you don't have to beg for or fight for or explain why you deserve it to them, walk away. And walk away clean. You don't walk away with hate or animosity or hurt or feeling like you're not enough or just sad that they didn't see you as enough. Because the narcissist is not ever going to see anybody or anything as enough when it comes right down to it. And oh yeah, they're very capable of pretending to appreciate people and putting on a good face. They're very good at that, actually, because they're very good at that Jekyll and Hyde mentality. So to people that aren't inside your home, they look like a different person. They seem like a different person. They act like a different person. The person that you likely fell in love with, or that you love because they're your family member, because you see them interact with others in this manner. But then behind closed doors, they're a totally different person. Yet they say they love you. Or maybe they don't even do that. You know? For my mom, I vividly remember being 7, 8 years old and asking her at bedtime, like every single night, I told her I love her and I hope she sleeps well. And she told me sweet dreams and go to bed. One night I decided to ask her, why does she never say she loves me back? And she snapped at me. And she told me that you don't expect people to tell you that they love you just because you said it to them. My very young, pure heart was deeply hurt over this, because all I could think about in my little mind was that you're my mother and you should love me. I should expect that from you. And there must be something wrong with me for you to not love me. It hurt me deeply. As it should, as a child. But as an adult, to look at it through a new lens now, in some ways she's actually right. You shouldn't expect people to love you just because you love them. You should love people because you choose to love people, not because it's expected. So you don't hold on to those expectations of an outcome. You don't do things for other people for a specific outcome if it has anything to do with you in the equation, right? It should be totally selfless when we do things for other people. We're not doing them for recognition. We're not doing them to look good, or we shouldn't anyway, is what I should say. We shouldn't be doing them to look good. We shouldn't be doing them for any specific outcome other than their highest good and joy. Period. But also from my adult lens, as a parent now of 7 children, I can vividly remember every single time I got pregnant again, thinking to myself, how in the world am I ever going to have enough love in my heart for a new child when I already adore the ones I have so deeply? How do I share that love that I have for them with another? It worried me greatly that I wouldn't have enough love to go around for all of my children. But lo and behold, with every child born, it was like I was birthed a brand new heart. That heart could completely adore and love this child because my other hearts were with those children that I'd already had before the next. Every single time, it amazed me at how I was able to balance that love. And so from an adult perspective, I know that my mother should have been capable of such things. And she could have tried harder. She still could. She's 88 years old. She could still try harder. But she really doesn't. Unless it feeds her ego and her needs, she really doesn't do much anything for anyone. Sad but true. But that's her lesson in this soul life. That's her lesson. I can't be angry with her for it, and I can't take it personally. None of her children can take it personally. The only thing we can truly do is to understand that that's her soul growth. That's her soul lesson that she's not yet learned. So in realizing recently that she was the first narcissist in my life, and knowing her background and the way that she was raised by parents that did not know how to show her love or express it in, verbal or comforting ways, right? They didn't hug her. They didn't give her kisses. They didn't tuck her in at night. They didn't say, I love you to their children until they got much older. Anyway, they didn't say it to them while they were children, from my understanding. I can see through a new lens now the perspective of the narcissist. And to me, it's a tragic one. Deeply tragic. Many of my personal relationships have been with narcissistic people, damaged people, toxic people. And I say damaged, but really with sometimes no clear explanation of where that damage actually even came from, aside from their upbringing, the lack of compassion and empathy and affection that they received as children. And so if we want to end the dis-ease of narcissism in our world, it starts with our children. We have to really listen to the kids. We have to love them. We have to show them we love them with more than just providing food and shelter and a warm bed. A freaking orphanage can do that. The neighbors can do that. Anybody can do that. But if you've got kids, you're not just anybody. You're their world. So if you're busy on your phones or your computers or with your friends or drinking or doing drugs or whatever it is that you're busy doing, watching TV all the time, working all the time, whatever it is that you're so busy with in your life, please take time to show your kids that you love them. Show them your empathy, your compassion, your interest, your pride for them. Show them those things. Because the next level down from the narcissist is the truly lost souls. And they may have some narcissistic tendencies, but they're not a classic narcissist. But they are clinically depressed. They're deeply sad. They're deeply wounded and jaded from life. And it all stems from childhood. It just continues to pile upon what they've already had from childhood as they grow up and become adults. They end up in toxic relationships or become toxic people themselves, or both. They can't function in society properly for more reasons than just knowing that society is a bunch of bullshit, you know. It's tragic what happens to people in their psyche from the lack of empathy and compassion and affection. So when somebody says that it doesn't matter what other people's opinions are of us, and it doesn't matter if we have human interaction or not, I know a lot of people that would just as soon be a hermit and live in the middle of the woods and not have to talk to anybody for the rest of their life. Their first thing they want to say is, I hate people. And the only reason they really hate people is because people can suck and people can be ugly. Like, they have no brain, they have no heart, they have no compassion, they have no empathy, they have no thought in their head for how they treat others. They're just like robotic bulldozers. So I get it. I understand why they want to hate people. But they say that they hate people because they really want to be loved by people. Otherwise, it wouldn't bother them. There would be no hate in their heart for people if they truly did not give a damn what other people think of them. See, that's true freedom. That's living your life without expectations of an outcome. That's what I've learned to do. I don't expect things from anyone. I don't expect your help. I don't expect your friendship. I don't expect your acceptance. I don't expect your apology if you do something wrong. I don't expect anything. But what I do now, I do make it very clear, and I demand a certain level of respect and acceptance and compassion from the people who share my space or share my energy. I make that very clear. My boundaries are clear because I've realized that we choose how people treat us. We choose, not them, not really them. How many times has someone started to act a certain way with you, and when you made it firm and clear that that's not okay, they suddenly change their tune? People will do whatever you let them do. They'll walk all over you if you are going to allow that. That's a fact. So, if you want people to be better people and not suck, you make very clear boundaries and you stick to them. You don't let them keep wiping their feet on you and you forgive them for it. You just don't. you walk away. And if they truly do love you and they truly don't realize how badly they're hurting you, your walking away will wake them up. And if it doesn't wake them up, okay, fine. It's not your soul to worry with, it's theirs. It's not your lesson to learn, it's theirs. You're learning your lesson of self-love, self-worth, clear boundaries. And you're walking away, and your life's going to be better for it. It's a win-win. You see? It's a win-win. But we do need to be more conscious of how we treat our children. All children. How we speak to them. You know, what level of respect do we give them? Because a lot of people think children don't deserve respect. And I strongly disagree with that. Now, do I think that we need to let them be so in touch with their feelings that they become, you know, that term snowflake? And they get by with everything and they have no discipline and no structure and can just become brats? Hell no. No, I don't think that's right either. That's the extreme opposite. We need to have that Goldilocks effect and meet somewhere in the damn middle. Use our common sense. But also use our intuition and our logic together in concert for what's right. You know? But the narcissist's truest lesson is to learn love. How to allow people to love them, and how to show people they love them. Like, genuinely show it. You know, being genuine. They can fake love all they want. They're quite good at it when they want to. But if it doesn't suit them, then they don't. So their strongest lesson, their greatest lesson is to learn how to accept love and how to deliver it. They have to learn how to open up their heart chakra. Which actually is closed more than anyone else's on the planet, probably. And that's pretty devastating from my perspective. That's a pretty devastating fact. So their lessons are to learn to let their heart truly open and allow themselves to love people and allow people to legitimately love them, to truly see it for what it is, you know? One of the really sad things about the narcissist is because of these issues, more likely than not, stemming from childhood and the way they were raised by their parents. There are certain pressures that are put on them, or lack of a real ability for emotional expression in healthy ways of love and compassion. So then that leads to typically an overuse or an addiction of some sort, whether it's drugs or alcohol, sex, gambling, anything to mask it so they don't have to think about it and feel it. And it's to the point of no longer even being able to remember what or why they started to give up their own free will and their own willpower to be tricked into going to those lower vibrations and stooping to the same level or worse of the parent or parents. After you've given up your willpower, it's very hard, listen to me, to muster up the strength and the courage to acknowledge the insecurities within you and acknowledge the lack of self-love and self-worth and to acknowledge the damage that you have now inflicted on others. Seeing yourself truly. It's hard to be proud of yourself once you catch a glimpse of it. It's hard to be pleased with anything, or to truly be happy or content with who you are, inside or out, or who others are, inside and out. And oftentimes the narcissist will view the kind-hearted people, the people who know how to use their heart chakra, they either will view them as weak, or they will view them as from a jealous perspective. But typically that jealousy will work its way out in some type of verbal abuse and put down of their kind heart. They will attack the thing that they wish they had the most, which is insanity. That's the definition of insanity to me. Oh, my shoulder just popped back into place finally. It's been out of its socket for a day and a half. They typically have very low self-esteem. Even if they claim to think that they have a great personality. Even if they claim to others to love theirself, or to think highly of theirself, or to think they're a great person, you know. I don't know how many times I've heard a narcissist say to me they think they're a great person and there's nothing wrong with them. That it's all me. Or it's all somebody else. That's ridiculous. Like, own your shit. When you're the one saying the mean things and doing the bad things, and the other person is the one crying all the time, it's not them, man. It's you. It's time to look at you. It blows my mind. Because they'll claim that they think they're just fine. But they know they're not. Like, you can tell deep inside them, they know they're not. And that scares the hell out of them. That messes them up. They don't know how to fix that shit. I wanted to find ways to help them fix it. Because I'm a fixer. They also have loads of self-sabotage. And very strong judgment on other people. The very strongly opinionated people in this world are the ones with the lowest self-esteem. Because if you are comfortable and secure in who you are, you're actually more accepting of other people being different. That's a fact. I know, because I'm one of them people. I'm very comfortable in who I am. And I'm very comfortable in everyone else being completely different from me, or slightly different from me, or whatever level of different they are. I want you to do you and be you. I don't want you to be me. That would be creepy. That would be like single white female creepy. I don't want you to be like me. I don't think I'm perfect. I don't think anybody's perfect. The only thing we're perfect about is in owning ourselves. Truly own you. Your emotions, your feelings, your actions, your deeds, your judgment, your opinion, your thought, where your heart is in things, where your mind is in things. Own you. Do you. Look at you. We're not here to judge others. We're here to judge ourselves. But the narcissists, even though they have loads of self-sabotage, are very strongly opinionated and judgmental of others. Especially the people that they claim to love. It's really quite a tragic story, to be honest. Unless they can regain their willpower and reclaim their soul. Because you see, being a narcissist is actually a spiritual dis-ease. Something somewhere in their life made them decide to check out, give up their free will, give up their willpower, and some even to the extent of actually being what we call a walkout. They stepped out of the body and let some other entity hijack it. Even if they didn't choose to be a full walkout, they've already been hijacked by some type of negative entity. You could call this a devil, you could call it evil, you could call it demons, you could call it whatever you want. Bottom line, it's a negative energy that wants your vessel to do its bidding. And you were at a low enough place in your life through depression, low self-esteem, low self-worth, low self-love, that you gave up on some level and allowed them in. Alcohol has its own demons. So do drugs. There are a variety of types of demons that you can allow into your body and your soul. Some are strong enough to take over completely because you've given up all of your free will, or the majority of it. So it's a very hard road to hoe to get out of this situation once you've gotten there, once you've been hijacked. But it isn't impossible. It's not impossible. But you do have to choose to give up your excessive ways, whether it's excessive alcohol, excessive drugs, excessive negative thoughts, excessive negative behavior, whatever it is that's in excess. You have to be willing to stop that in order to save yourself. Most cannot be saved with anyone else's help. They can only save themselves. And since they chose to give up their power, only they can reclaim it. And that's very hard work, to be honest. When you have to be honest with yourself about how ugly you have been, it's really hard to acknowledge that you've been doing the devil's bidding, so to speak. And on some level, even possibly enjoying it, while remaining in misery on the other hand, because of self-sabotage. And that trip that you have to take down that hall of mirrors to face the self, the reflections of the deeds that you've done, and how it made you feel good in the moment, but never got a good result from it in the outcome, and how deeply you hurt people that you love without that mattering to you. It never mattered enough to stop the repeat offense. And you have to look at that and be honest with it. All the times that you've lied to yourself and blamed others and said that you're better off without them, only to now finally realize how much they actually did for you and fighting for the relationship, showing you love that you always claimed that you wanted and thought that you deserved on some level, yet was fighting against and pushing away. Realizing that you actually did have it and that you actually worked against yourself to lose it. That's hell. To realize that you chose the things that weren't for your highest good and for your highest joy, while all the while thinking that whatever you were doing was to suit your needs. but really never meeting the needs that you desired for it to meet. The self-sabotage stems from the low self-esteem. And one who is aware of giving up their soul or their willpower for some type of gain knows on that level that they don't deserve these good people and true love in their life. So part of the self-sabotage is from inner judgment that's on a subconscious level that they're not even aware of. And all of this needs to be brought to the forefront of the mind so that you can reckon with all of it and discern between the shaft and the wheat and figure out where to start in picking up the pieces. And it isn't until they can see all of this that they can even have half a chance at this true salvation. And that is highly unlikely to occur for many narcissists. And that's a sad fact. Then, if it does occur, they have to figure out if and how they can fix this within themselves and then with others. Because you have to be able to own your shit and make amends, right? We all know that. We all know that you're supposed to repent when you sin. You're supposed to ask for forgiveness if you've done something wrong. We understand that. And to have to ask for forgiveness from someone and own your shit, that's hard. That's really hard. That takes a lot of inner strength and courage to do. And so the odds of probability are stacked against you if you're a narcissist. But it still doesn't make it impossible to save yourself from and redeem yourself. But you do need to reflect and find a way to forgive others where their forgiveness is needed, but also find a compassionate place in your heart to forgive yourself because you weren't aware of the actions and how deeply they affected the people that you do love. So if you're truly remorseful from it, there is hope for you. So remember that. Once you become aware of how much you've hurt someone you love, your conscience starts to kick in with guilt. And then more negative self-talk can occur. So you have to know how to change the way you think and talk to yourself so that you can end these cycles for all of you, for yourself and others. Because remember, the narcissist journey began in their childhood with not being spoken to in kind ways, in loving ways, compassionate ways, understanding, empathetic ways. They didn't get that from others, from their parents, from the adults in their life. They didn't get that. And they needed it. And somewhere along the line, they tried to convince themselves they don't need it. And that it's okay to treat people the same way they were treated and raised. And that it should all be good. But it's clearly not. It's clearly not. If you pause long enough to look at the way your actions and behavior have affected the people that you love and the children that you have raised, it's not okay. It wasn't okay for you, and it's not okay for them. And we need to break the cycle. We need to end the chaos. And we need to start being real with everybody, including ourselves. We have to be real about the pain we have felt as a child and not be ashamed of admitting it. There's no shame in saying, I have pain from when I was a kid. just because you're now an adult. We've got to own that shit sometime so that we can shed it and heal from it and redeem ourselves to the people that love us. There is still hope. We have to know how to forgive ourselves. And that starts with seeing from a higher perspective, which also means that they've already begun to reclaim their soul at this point. So again, more hope. And you need to continue to give yourself credit for all of the things that you're doing in trying to change and reclaim your soul and your self-respect and your self-worth and the respect from others. It's going to be hard work. You have to reprogram those ugly thoughts and that ugly self-talk into more positive affirmations, more positive thinking. Very hard thing to do. You have to convince yourself that it is in your best interest to do these things, because the narcissist is the one that's going to be the quickest to go into survival mode in any situation. So it's very, very hard for them to maintain self-control of their emotions, making it harder for them to reclaim their soul. And we'll just use the devil as our term. I personally don't believe that there is just one Satan or devil. I think there's many evils in this world and many levels. But the actual devil from the Bible was created for pure fear porn and control. But we'll use the word devil for the example that for the statement I'm about to say. The devil will not give you your soul, release your soul back to you easily. But that's a built-in duality for our lessons. That was part of God's plan, that your soul could not be released easily once you give up part of your free will and your willpower. That was an intentional thing for you to have to fight hard to get, because, you know, how hard do we work for anything if we don't really want it? We work hard to achieve the things that we really want. So if you really want it, you're going to work hard for it, and you will achieve it. But also keep in mind that the loss of the willpower has always been your choice, but it was through trickery. And trickery is on many levels and in various different ways as well. Bottom line, though, it was always your choice, and it's still your choice to change now. You can choose to continue to be a puppet, or you can choose to take back your strings. So really the question is, how bad do you want it? How determined are you not to be the puppet? Then, of course, there's the purging and the healing. The purging is the repenting or the baptism. The healing is the salvation. And it will begin at this point. So, unfortunately, most narcissists will not make it to this point because it's just too hard. It's too painful to the ego and to the psyche, unless they're really willing to seek out proper help. Proper help can only come from a minister or a trusted priest or trusted preacher or a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a spiritual teacher. It would be one of those that aren't afraid, or rather aren't reserved in calling it like they see it. Because with the narcissist, you have to be brutally honest so that they can too be brutally honest within themselves. They have to be able to see the facts. And I don't mean in like a mean way. I just mean in a matter of fact, shoot from the hip, no sugarcoating it kind of way. They need to really be able to see it through new eyes. So trying to help a narcissist is very much the same as trying to help someone who's possessed. So it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not something that you can save them from just because you love them. Especially if they've already been taken over on such a deep level by the evils. It's a point of no return for you as the person that loves the narcissist to continue to stay in that energy and that circumstance and hope that one day you're going to save them from themselves. You cannot save someone from theirself. You know, it's like that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It has to want to drink bad enough to survive, you know? Or it has to want to survive bad enough to drink. That's what I'm trying to say. So, you know, unfortunately for probably about 3/4 of the narcissists, they're not going to learn that lesson in this lifetime. They're going to have to wait until they come back for a redo and get reincarnated. The only ones that are truly going to be saved are the ones that truly want to be saved and that seek that help or some type of knowledge somewhere to find that inner wisdom that they're going to need for how to get through this. Meanwhile, the tricksters, who walk around looking and pretending to be that person or fooling that person into thinking negatively every time they try to pull themselves out of this tar pit of negative shit they're in. Little by little, they're stealing their physical life away. And that's why any of the excesses are actually quite dangerous, as well as deep depression. So take real heed of your internal thoughts and of others, and take heed also of your actions and that of others, and do regular check-ins with yourself and be honest. Honestly evaluate your behavior toward others, and honestly do a self check-in about how you truly feel about the way you're being treated by others, and use your discernment of yourself and them. There is a true art to forgiveness. There's a true art to complete acceptance and compassion of other people and yourself. There's a true art of self-reflection and of release and healing. There's an art to willpower. There's an art to redeeming yourself in healthy ways. It's called mastery of the self. I offer a short 2-day class on my website by that name. It's jam-packed full of tools that are necessary for you to achieve these goals, whether you're the narcissist or not. Not only do I offer this 2-day course, but once you sign up and take this course, You also get months of my personal guidance, of me being on call 24/7 for anything that you need, guaranteed. My vow to you is that if you are willing to take the steps necessary to change, I'm going to walk with you down that path to where you have 2 sets of footprints in that sand. You're never going to be alone. But you have to be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to put in your effort. Because even though I can show you where the tools are, what they look like, and how they work, you have to be the one to use them to build a new foundation for yourself. So the building of the structure is up to you. I merely give you the blueprint and the tools and give you the instructions for how to use them. But if you're willing to do that work, I am honored to help you to understand how to achieve that goal. I think I'm going to leave it there. I'll talk to all of you again soon. Thanks for watching. Many, many blessings of love and light.